Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Let me pull this up post this in a few different places, and we will jump into the markets. All right, so we have our little cliff dwellers, but nothing's really changed. I mean, nothing's really changed. If we go look at the price here, I mean, basically the last 3 weeks have been essentially just moving sideways. Okay, they've been essentially just moving sideways. Remember, we speculate that it'll take several months to really figure out a shift in momentum. This is why I keep saying I don't think we're going to have a V-shaped recovery. But regardless, it's always prudent to maybe take a look at maybe some of the shorter term moving averages and see where we are. First of all, if we go look at, say, like the 4-hour chart, which again, not something I trade, we still haven't really broken out of this downtrend, okay? And I think that's something that's at least worth noting. And again, I say this is like, as long as we're just sort of down in these areas, we're still just playing in the sandbox, right? We're playing in the sandbox. I've seen a lot of people, start saying things like anytime it goes up that it's about to put in a new all-time high. But again, I think we should remain relatively cautious at this point. I think the smart thing is to be happy if it goes up, but to manage our expectations just because of where we are in the market, okay? Just because of where we are in the market, recognizing that we are putting in lower highs, we are below the 20-week SMA. Yes, we want it to change, but I think it's going to take it's going to take a longer period of time than most people think to put in new all-time highs. I don't think it's going to take 3 years, but I don't think it's going to take 1 month either, okay? So let's remain cautious as we continue to navigate this cycle. Now, one interesting thing, we're sort of at like this decision point, okay? And I was going to make a video about this. I probably will later. Again, if you're new to the channel, you know my general thoughts. By the way, if you guys make sure you subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, remember, or I should remind you, or maybe tell you, not remind you, just tell you for the first time, that I do not prescribe, or maybe subscribe, to the 4-year cycle stuff, okay? I think we're in lengthening cycles. But what's interesting is if we line everything up, we're sort of at a decision point, okay? And the reason I say that is because we're at the point where we were last cycle when things should have recovered, okay? So let me show you guys what I mean here. I'll change that a different color. So let's grab the last one, okay? And we're just gonna overlay it here. Okay. I'll change this to, like, I don't know, purple. So the reason why I say we're sort of at like a decision point is because since 2019, I've maybe not argued, but yeah, let's just call it. It's like I've argued with people over the 4-year cycle versus lengthening cycles, and to me, and we've also had, hopefully most of them were cordial discussions, but not all of them, but also people that have trolled me on the whole diminishing returns theory. Now, I think it's interesting because out of all these years of talking about diminishing returns and likely seeing diminishing returns this cycle and likely seeing lengthening cycles this cycle, and just like we had I mean, it's not even like the first time, it's just a continuation of the trend. We're now at a crossroads, okay? So let's zoom in. If you measure the market cycle ROI of Bitcoin from market cycle bottom right here for all cycles, so cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3, and then this is cycle 4. Now, the reason I say that Bitcoin is at a crossroads is because if you subscribe to the 4-year cycle and non-diminishing returns theory, which I don't think is going to happen, it's decision time, right? It's decision time. We're at the point where we really should start going up. And if we're going to keep up with the last cycle, then by the end of July, Bitcoin needs to be trading for $90,000. If it's not trading for $90,000 in about 5 weeks, we're simply not keeping pace with the last cycle, which is what we've said all along, is that we likely will not keep pace. So it is decision time. It's decision time for Bitcoin, in my opinion, right? Is it going to do what I think and come out for a much longer cycle before we get to that 6-figure mark, or are we going to just move up with the last cycle, which I think is a lot less likely. Now, I know a lot of you guys might agree. Some of you guys might agree with the 4-year cycle. Some of you guys might agree with me on the lengthening cycle, diminishing return stuff. But the nice thing is that after what, 2 years of debates, we're going to have a decision time. It's almost decision time, right? We're almost there. Bitcoin can't just go sideways or go down for much longer before the people calling for a $300,000 Bitcoin have to concede that it's just simply not happening by the end of the year. So, remember, this would be basically an order of magnitude jump for Bitcoin to do in like 5 or 6 months. Again, probably not going to happen. So when we look at where Bitcoin is right now, let me pull up here. So far, we're just getting a lot of sideways movement, right? This is basically what we're getting. If you just sort of look at it for what it is, it's a lot of sideways movement, okay? Now, this, of course, is slightly coming down, okay? So, sort of begs the question, right? Well, how long could this last? Well, I guess if you draw the triangle, it could theoretically last for a long time if it goes to the end of it, but most of them don't go to the end of it. Again, I don't think this stuff's worth trading anyways. I also should say that leverage trading is generally not a good idea because the opportunity cost on losing your Bitcoin is very high. Okay, so if I always say you really should not be deterministic about anything with investing, but if you are going to be deterministic about something in crypto, it should be about Bitcoin. And if you're going to be deterministic and you're bullish, let's just assume that Bitcoin goes to 100K. Think about, if every Bitcoin you lose or every portion of a Bitcoin you lose, you're losing what that could have been worth if it were at 100K or 140K or something. So remember, the opportunity cost is high. So right now, the phase of the market we're in, it seems like, all these people longing and shorting Bitcoin on both sides are just constantly getting liquidated. A lot of them are just continuing to get liquidated because anytime Bitcoin pumps, a lot of people are saying, hey, the bull market's back on, Bitcoin's or it was never off, Bitcoin's about to put on a new all-time high, and then it gets rejected, and then when we're down here, you sort of get the reverse sentiment, okay? So leverage trading can be very risky, and this is why I do not encourage it on the channel, and it's also why I will never post a leverage trading affiliate link. So just keep that in mind. So where we currently are, Bitcoin is at 35,686. Okay. Now I want to go look at some of the other metrics we like to look at. So let's pull up the bull market support band. So we're going to start with this. Remember, there's no reason to call Forbes anytime Bitcoin goes up a couple $1,000s, right? There's just simply no reason. As long as we're well below the 20-week SMA, which again today is at 48,667. Again, we're just playing in the sandbox. The 21-week EMA is at a more theoretically attainable 43K, but still we would have a long ways to go to get there. Also, we need to acknowledge the fact that the 20-week SMA is likely going to stay relatively constant for at least the next couple of weeks, okay? The way that it might not stay constant is if the price of Bitcoin drops down here. Then it would probably roll over sooner. If Bitcoin continues to close candles in this region, we're essentially replacing these prices with very similar prices 20 weeks ago. Therefore, the 20-week SMA is likely to continue to be sort of at this plateau. And I think this is, a key momentum shift in the market. It's going to continue to be at this plateau until we get to replacing these candles with some that might be over here. And then it'll start to come down. Okay, that's when it would start to come down. Now, if we look at, say, some other moving averages, again, that I think it's important to at least keep an eye on, we need to know where the 50-week is, because a lot of times during, if we do dump, you can go to the 50-week. And what's interesting is the 50-week is sort of coming to the prices that Bitcoin has already been dumping to. Okay, Bitcoin already dumped to 30K not too long ago. The 50-week SMA is at 29,345. So the 50-week is essentially coming up to the prices where we've seen Bitcoin go in the not so distant past, okay? And if you look back, like, we've had pretty significant bounces off the 50-week. I mean, like, this one over here was 55% move. I mean, to give you an idea, like, what that would be today, like, if Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin did bounce off the 50-week and went up 50%, I mean, that would take Bitcoin to 44K. So that gives you an idea of what kind of bounce might you get if we were to go to the 50-week. But I think it might also be useful to look at some of the shorter term moving averages just to sort of see where they are. You have the 20-day, and we've been trying to get above it. It seems like we more or less just keep getting rejected right around it. Even when we do get above it, we just seem to get rejected basically like the next day or something. And everything else is more or less acting as resistance. Okay, I mean, we tried to get above the 200-day again a week or two ago. We were unable to do that as well. So right now, I think that there's probably a lot of people panicking in the market. I should remind you that if history is any indication, and if we dubiously extrapolate, this cycle should last longer than the prior ones. But that also means that the consolidation phases can last longer than the consolidation phases of the last cycle. So with that in mind, yes, you can get these pullbacks in the market, but it doesn't really change where Bitcoin should be headed over the market cycle. But remember, the market cycle is likely to go on past 2021. This is my thinking. Again, I know that offends some people. I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just trying to show you a theory that is somewhat different than what I've seen out there. And it's surprising to me. It is honestly surprising to me that most people, or a lot of people, really criticize it because I feel like that's what the data says. But again, I guess it is what it is. Anyways, let's look at the extension from the 20-week, because we have come up some. So it'll be interesting to see where we came up to. So let's go to the log of the price over the 20-week. So you can see it did move up a little bit. Obviously, we're still somewhat bearish. Remember, anytime we're below both the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA, it's safe to assume that the market is somewhat bearish. Okay, I mean, it is. Look at how altcoins have completely changed sentiment since Bitcoin's below the 20-week. Again, we might not want to admit it, but how many altcoins do you know of have put in new all-time highs since Bitcoin fell below the 20-week? Yes, maybe there's a few pet projects out there of yours that have, but generally speaking, most altcoins have not put in new all-time highs since Bitcoin fell below the 20-week. And the truth of the matter is that many of them won't put in new all-time highs until Bitcoin does. Okay, now that's not going to go for every altcoin. A lot of altcoins will in fact put in new all-time highs before Bitcoin does. But I would say that there's several altcoins, tons of them, that likely will not put in new all-time highs until after Bitcoin does. Now, that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, if you think about like when Bitcoin broke 20K, a lot of altcoins weren't putting in their all-time highs until Bitcoin broke 20K. if in fact we are sort of, in this sort of lull in the market, which we've been saying is more likely to happen than not, then it could be that we see something similar where altcoins can be relatively bullish, but maybe like 75% of them are unable to put in new all-time highs until after Bitcoin does. Now there could be, there certainly could be some projects that are able to put in new all-time highs before Bitcoin. And in fact, I would hope they would, because it'd be really nice to ride those and maybe take some profits back to Bitcoin. But I would say that a lot of the market probably will not put in new all-time highs until Bitcoin puts in new all-time highs. It's just my general thoughts on the market. And again, it's based off prior data, not necessarily just what I feel, not necessarily just what I feel. So until Bitcoin, again, is above our bull market support band, okay, which we still have a long ways to go, until it's above that, again, we're sort of just playing in the sandbox. I would not get too worked up over, $2,000 or $3,000 to the moves to the upside or to the downside. Just recognize that when we're in this phase of the cycle, we're going to get some volatility. And so far, honestly, the volatility to the downside hasn't been that bad. It could get worse, but so far, it really hasn't been that bad. And Bitcoin is trying to hold on. If you look at, say, like, monthly candles, we've had this was a 1.7% drop, a 35% drop so far. This is a 4.5% drop or so. But again, even here, you can see just how far we've come. We're still at essentially the prices that Bitcoin was at, that Bitcoin really reached for the first time in January, and then the body of the candle in February. So it's not like Bitcoin has had a massive capitulation back down to levels over here. In fact, quite the opposite. We've moved down for a few months. I would contend this move could last at least, it doesn't have to be down, it could be sideways, but I would say we need some type of continued consolidation in the market for months to come before we're going to have a potential move to 100K. Again, I think this is a good thing. Especially if you feel like there's a lot of people in crypto that joined in January, that joined in February, that joined in March. And they kept saying on the channel, well, hey Ben, like I wish I'd found your channel, or at least I wish I'd found crypto last year. Okay, this is what I would hear. And what I always said to them is, it's really easy to say that. It's really easy to say that you would have bought Bitcoin over here. It's a completely different thing to actually stick around when the market is not as bullish as it was just a few months ago. Okay, so remember, if we are in for continued bearish times for a few months, okay, this period will likely be seen as the new people that enter the market later on will look at that and say, hey, I wish I'd bought over here. And then you're going to say, well, hey, it was a lot harder to buy back over there than you thought it was. Because of, when things are going down, obviously it can be somewhat scary. So just remember, it's all a matter of perspective. It's just the way the market is. The way the market is, it's easy to FOMO in the bull market, and then it's easy to sort of just tune out in the bear market and then wait for things to get bullish again before you actually get interested. Generally speaking, the people that stick around in Bitcoin when things are bearish tend to have the most to gain when things are bullish. So I think at this point it's just a matter of how far down do we go before we see some type of turnaround. Remember, the people that bought Bitcoin over here were gaining the most when it was up here. Because if you bought Bitcoin over here, you're essentially up like 20x. If you bought it over here, you're up like 20x. So this to here was about a 20x move. Okay, if you waited until Bitcoin broke 10K, then you were looking at like a 6x move. And there's nothing wrong with 6x, right? There's nothing wrong with it, but 20x is better, okay? And then let's say you waited until Bitcoin got to the prior all-time high to buy. Well, then you're looking at only like a 3x. So it's all a matter of perspective. It all depends on how much risk you want to take. Do you want to buy the breakout and ultimately know that you're not going to see as high of a return later on? Or does it make more sense for you to sort of buy when things are bearish, or even maybe try to time the bottom if you think you're good at that, and then just sort of wait? But anyways, if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. Let's go for 1,000 likes. Let's also remember, we also have the sale on the premium list. It's going to end on Sunday. So I would recommend that you guys check that out if you want to lock in the lower rate. It's in the description below. I will also put it in the comments. And then finally, we also do have a public Telegram channel, which I will post in the comments as well, and you can find a link to in the description below. All right, so how's everyone doing? Yeah, where's the Bart? Yeah, no relief rally yet. We've not had a relief rally. I've seen some people say we've had one. I don't think so. You know, if we're in a down, as long as we're in a downtrend, this is not a relief rally. A relief rally, I think, would break the downtrend. Okay, it would break the downtrend. And so far, nothing is really. I saw some people call this a relief rally. Hey guys, no one's getting out of bed for a $38,000 Bitcoin, right? No one's getting out of bed for a $38,000 Bitcoin. So again, I don't think that we've had a relief rally. I think so far things continue to be relatively bearish, and that no relief rally is seen so far. Doesn't mean we're not going to see one. Maybe we need to go to the 50-week first, but no relief rally has manifested itself so far. Certainly a move to 38K cannot be considered a relief rally when it was still lower than the high we had just about a week ago. Okay, so it's kind of funny because people over here were saying, well, is this the relief rally? And it's like, no. And then they're like, well, is this the relief rally? Well, if this move here is to a lower high than this one was, then it's certainly not a relief rally. So Bitcoin has not had a relief rally. No relief rallies yet. Gray Jedi says, how about some brotherhood care by sharing your YouTube profits? I don't have AdSense running on the channel, my friend, so I'm not making any money from YouTube profits. Yeah, we're going to get the death cross. I mean, I did a calculation earlier. I mean, obviously, death crosses more or less tell you what you already know, but we are going to get it, I think. I mean, at this point, Bitcoin needs to move up by approximately $1,900 per day to avoid it. Right? I mean, I think some people think that, you know, if the price of Bitcoin just comes right here and chills here, then we're going to somehow avoid it. But they're simply not understanding the fact that the actual math behind it, the average of 200 days, the average of 50 days. The price of Bitcoin would have to go up about $1,900 a day to avoid it. If it doesn't move up $1,900 a day, then they're going to cross. Again, if you want to talk about the implications of the cross, that's a different story. But I keep seeing people say things like, hey, we're going to avoid the death cross. They're going to come close to touching, but they're not going to. And then my response is, well, do you realize what would have to happen for Bitcoin to avoid getting the death cross? Again, there's a difference between getting the death cross and the implications of the death cross. I'm just strictly saying, are we going to get it? And to say that, you know, Bitcoin just coming back up here is going to avoid it is simply not true. It would have to have a sustained move by about, I mean, almost $2,000 a day. So within 10 days, Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin needs to be at 55K. Okay, if the price of Bitcoin is not at like 55K in 10 days, we're going to get a death cross. I mean, it's just as simple as that. So if you think, if you see people out there saying we're not going to get one, then they're basically saying they think Bitcoin's going to go to 55K within 10 days. Again, not saying it can't happen. It sure as hell can happen. I just want people to understand the math behind it so that if you are coming across people saying that it's not going to happen, you should alert them to the fact that that means they're saying Bitcoin's going to pump $20,000 within the next 10 days. And then maybe that'll put into perspective what they're saying can and cannot happen with a potential death cross. Again, we're leaving the implications of the death cross out. I'm just talking about whether we get one or not. All right. Someone says, what is the reasoning behind lengthening cycles besides It will take more volume and capital pouring in the market to meet the price. I mean, as I've showed you before, the reasoning is that if you just simply look at the last few cycles as measured from the bottom, as measured from the halving, they lengthen, right? I mean, this isn't, I honestly don't even know why I have to explain it. I mean, again, like, I could be wrong, right? I mean, it might not play out. Like, it's just it's a theory or a hypothesis. I could be wrong, but I'm not really sure why. I mean, it just seems obvious that, like, this theory could easily manifest itself just by looking at the length and time between, say, the peak of different cycles. Okay, so again, everyone has access to the same charts that I do. This isn't rocket science. Again, it's just data science. And this also goes if you measure it from the halving as well. They seem to lengthen. Okay, so again, I'm not just saying, well, from a fundamental perspective it has to lengthen because of exponentially more volume. I'm saying from a charts perspective, it seems like it should, but from a fundamental perspective, I think it makes sense too, because this is the cycle of institutions. I guess even some governments now, but this definitely is the cycle of institutions. And I don't think every institution is just going to FOMO in 2021. Like, maybe someone to come in in 2022. Is that a bad thing? No. Could it keep the market moving? Yes. Okay, so I don't think we should limit it to 2021. I think we need to be somewhat open-minded with where it could go. One thing that's interesting is, I mean, what if Bitcoin just stays somewhat, humdrum for 3 to 6 months, and then we get to 2022, which was supposed to be the big bearish month, or the big bearish year that the 4-year cycle theories were projecting, and then what happens if 2022 ends up being more bullish than 2021? I think that's certainly a possibility. I mean, if you think about it, the price of Bitcoin on January 1st was what, like 28K? Wasn't it like 28K or something like that? Where was it? January 1st. Right here. Yeah, like 29K. So the price of Bitcoin on January 1st was 29K. So if the price of Bitcoin on January 1st was like 29K, we're literally only up 22%. Okay, so Bitcoin on the year is up 22%. My contention is that the ROI as measured year to date in 2022, there's a decent chance it could be better than Bitcoin's performance in 2021. That's my contention. Again, I'm not saying it has to happen. I just think there's a higher probability that it happens than it doesn't happen. That's sort of where I think we are right now. Okay, so let's just give it some time. I mean, we should know more within a few weeks, because again, if you want to see if the 4-year cycle stuff plays out, hey, it's crunch time. It's crunch time right now. You see where we are. You see where we are here. We're either going to track it or we're not. If in a few weeks we're out over here, then we're simply not tracking it, and we can put the theory, this theory to rest. Okay, that it's going to happen again. We can just simply put it to rest if we're unable to keep up. So it's crunch time. We're either going to be trading at $90,000 in 6 weeks, or we're not going to be trading at $90,000 in 6 weeks. And I think at that point, we should know a lot more. So I'd say by the end of the summer, it should be a lot clearer what's going on, what's likely to transpire this cycle. Guys, everyone's asking me about altcoins. You gotta look at Bitcoin, right? I mean, when Bitcoin's going down, like, what do you expect altcoins are gonna do? Andrew says he can't listen at 2x on live. Yeah, it's unfortunate, isn't it? Who listens to me on like 1.5 speed or like 2x speed? I bet a lot of people do. I can't blame you. Did you guys notice that it didn't take long for all the crazy price predictions to come back? Like on this, the minute Bitcoin moves up, like everyone's calling for another 300K Bitcoin. It doesn't take long. Phase 14 Tech TV says he listens on 0.25 speed to really take it in. Do I believe in stock to flow? No. I don't. I mean, I'm not saying it's like the worst model in the world. I mean, I think to some degree, even, all models are wrong, right? All models are wrong. Even my own, all models are wrong. Some are useful. I think the stock to flow model is more useful than most models, but I don't think I don't think it's going to stand the test of time. I don't think. I mean, basically, if the stock to flow model is correct, it's basically predicting Bitcoin's going to go to like $100 million in 15 years or so. I don't know exactly what it is. I know that by this cycle they're calling for like $288,000, and then by the next cycle they're calling for $1 million, and then by the next cycle what is it, like $10 million, and they're saying it's going to happen every 4 years. I don't think it's going to stand the test of time. I don't. I do think that Bitcoin can go to six figures this cycle. So, I mean, I think that it will continue to look pretty good, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, all models are wrong. Some are useful. So yeah, I mean, do I think it's going to go to 288K this cycle? No, I don't think Bitcoin has a snowball's chance to go to $288,000 this cycle. But between 1 to 200, yeah, I think Bitcoin could make it 120, 140. Maybe higher than that. 288 that's almost 300K. I don't see a 300K Bitcoin this cycle. 300K Bitcoin this cycle. Would be happy to be proven wrong. I think some people think that all these different models or the creators of the various models are out to get each other. On the contrary, I don't really think that's true. I mean, I think that we kind of give each other flack sometimes. But at the end of the day, I mean, if Bitcoin goes up, then we all win, right? I mean, well, assuming you're not shorting it, which if you're shorting it, I would advise you that that's a really bad idea, generally speaking. But at the end of the day, I mean, if Bitcoin goes to 100K, whether you believe it's stock to flow, whether you believe it's the 4-year cycle, whether you believe it's lengthening cycles, who cares, right? Who cares? Like, Bitcoin's at 100K, right? Who cares? So yes, we can have our fun with our models, but let's also, I would say let's treat other models with respect, and not necessarily say, hey, just because I don't believe in it doesn't mean that they're not worth listening to. So do I think the stock to flow model is going to ultimately stand the test of time over the next 20 years? No, I don't think it has. I don't think it will. Could Bitcoin go to six figures, which would be the lower estimate on where the stock to flow model would predict this cycle? Yes. Okay, I think that could. So yeah, I mean, there's different aspects to it. I think that this cycle it could still look okay, even if it takes longer to get to where the stock to flow model thinks it's going to take to get there. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at 100K Bitcoin or 150K Bitcoin in 2022, even the stock to flow model is going to look pretty damn good at the time. I mean, it's going to look good at the time, even if the projection was slightly delayed. So again, I mean, they're all models, right? They're all just models. Some are wrong, or all are wrong. Some are useful, right? All are wrong. Some are useful. I certainly think the stock to flow model is useful in the sense that it does do a pretty good job, like other models, of trying to speculate where Bitcoin's going to go. And just like lengthening cycle theory, the stock to flow model predicts Bitcoin going to 100K. It's just the time frame on that, I think, is what's different. Okay, so if it goes to 100K, we all win. Who really cares? Who really cares which model got it? I mean, there could be a chance that it's like a mix between both. Maybe we're all wrong. Maybe it goes to like 100K, sooner than I think it will, but later than the stock to flow model thinks it will. So I don't know. We'll have to see how things play out, but that's generally my thinking on the stock to flow model. Maybe it'll continue to look good this cycle, even if it's slightly delayed. I think it's already getting slightly delayed, because if you go to the bottom of the uncertainty band on the stock to flow model, we're already flirting with that sort of the bottom of that model. So, I mean, he even said if Bitcoin trades at like 30,000, 35K for a few months, then we're going to be quickly, veering off from the model. So hey, we should know more in a couple months, right? At the end of the summer, we're either tracking it or we're not, right? We're either tracking the stock to flow model, which is essentially thinking that we're going to basically do this and put in the same return as we did last cycle, or we're not going to track it. We'll know in a couple months, okay? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, all models are wrong. Okay, I gotta stress that. Even my own, hopefully it's not, especially my own, but even my own models are going to have some flaws in them. So I think we all just need to be somewhat open-minded. I think that's probably the best thing, is just everyone needs to be open-minded. And my thinking is that, again, it's going to take us longer to see the market cycle top than the stock to flow model predicts, but we're going to remain somewhat flexible and see where the rest of 2021 takes us. If in 3 or 4 months we're still trading, 30 to 50K or 20 to 50K, if we're still in that range, then hey, probably going to take longer to get to 6 figures than the stock to flow model predicts. If we're trading at 70K in 2 or 3 months, then we're probably not going to take that much longer. My wife asked me a while back, she she looked at my screen and she's like, are these stick figures? She was like, Ben, are you drawing stick figures? Like, is that what you're doing? And I was like, yeah, like I draw stick figures. And she's like, wait, so people are watching, so thousands of people are watching you draw stick figures. And I was like, I can't explain it. Maybe you guys can explain it to her. Zayd says he quit smoking for this. Hey man, I don't know. I can't explain why you're doing it. I mean, first of all, smoking's bad for you, but I can't explain why you're watching me draw stick figures. I'm just pointing out that it's a Friday night. This is what I'm pointing out. It's a Friday night and you're watching me draw stick figures. That's what I'm pointing out. I guess if you're watching crypto on a Friday night and you're watching me draw stick figures, and you're actually more devoted than most. Yeah, these are our cliff dwellers. In case you're new, these are our cliff dwellers. We probably should draw another one. Maybe we'll draw one here too. Someone says they miss when I drew chimneys. We'll draw chimneys again one day. We have a long way to go before we're going to be drawing chimneys again. I mean, the all-time high is way up here. I don't see us getting back to that level anytime soon. But we'll get there eventually, and we'll draw our chimneys at the time. Maybe it'll be somewhere out over here or something. Oh yeah, Danny, thanks for the reminder. All right, you're now a moderator. How's the Cowan corridor doing? That's a good question. Let's go take a look. I created it as a joke indicator for the record. So I don't make any promises on it. Right now, you can see that it's sort of showing that around 30K, right? Around 30K. That's where it's currently showing. Just to give you a brief history on it, so you can see sort of where it is. This is sort of what happened. I mean, the upper limits tend to be kind of where it gets stopped in its tracks here when it gets flirting with that red line. And then when it gets flirting with the green line, it typically isn't able to go too much further down below it. So yeah, again, like, you know, flirting with that red line, it's hard for us to move past it. And actually, I should switch this over to a different exchange so we actually can go back and look at the 2011 peak as well. So yeah, here's the 2011 one, right? So flirting with the red line, it's hard for us to get above it. The green line tends to be sort of the local bottom anyways. Red line, we get kind of rejected back down, but this one we didn't go back to the green one. Here, again, we got rejected back down again. And let me delete these. So again, here's the red one. And then we kind of came back down to the green one here. Notice, though, that we did go lower than these prices. We just didn't do it immediately, okay? So I think that's a key thing to recognize, is that we did go lower than these prices. I mean, these prices were at like 6K. We ultimately went below 6K for a few months over here and then a little bit later on. But it didn't do it immediately. So again, you can see there and then there. And then again, like, ish. Sort of worked. I mean, you know, we're not taking this one to the bank by any means, but here we are, right? It's right here. So it's currently at 30,665, 666, 30,666. You can see that both the bottom one here, they both flattened out. The bottom one and the top one have both flattened out. The top one's flattened out at 120K. Something I was looking at recently, it was kind of an interesting, what was it? I don't really remember what it was. There was something interesting that I remember. Maybe it was that. No? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so this is interesting. So look at this. Maybe I'm gonna butcher this because I don't remember exactly how it goes. But I was really looking at this one. I was like, well, what if we take, if you go to the top of the red line, okay, so look at this. Just bear with me here. Bear with me here. If you go to the top of the line and you go across, that ended up being the support for this market. Okay, so this wasn't the actual price. This was just the top of this indicator, right? The top of this indicator made it up to around, I mean, look at that. It made it right up to like 3,100, 3,200, which ended up being the bottom right there. I thought that was interesting. And this model was not fit to do that by any stretch of the imagination. So then I was like, well, what happens if you go to this one, right? What happens if you look at this one? It's right there. So I don't know. I mean, I have mixed feelings on it, right? Like I feel like it could go below 30K, but I'm certainly not going to bet the family farm on it going below 30K. Just maybe something to keep in mind, because again, we know that the price of Bitcoin did not go to $30,000 back over here, but I mean, that's where, you know, our little corridor took us. This is where the little corridor took us. So I don't know. I thought it was an interesting thing. Probably not something you can take to the bank, unfortunately. So don't go like walking down to the bank saying, "Well, this indicator says this." But I noticed the similarities. Brody says he got kicked out of Chase trying to show them my indicators. Yeah, I could see that. How'd I do in the chess tournament? The chess tournament's tomorrow. I'm probably not going to win because there's people in the tournament that are higher rated than me, but hopefully I don't lose in the first round. Make sure you guys, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. Remember, we also have the sale on the premium list. We're going to keep that running for just until through the end of the week. So we'll put it in the comments. You guys can find it in the description below if you want to join. What's my chess rating? It's about 1700 or so. Like yesterday it was 1650. Today it's like 1750. So it fluctuates around 1700 on chess.com. If you're playing on Lee Chess, then it's closer to 2000. But Lee Chess, their ELO ratings are inflated compared to what they actually should be. So really it's around 1700. What's included in premium? We do so I do 2 weekly videos per week, a newsletter. We have like our risk dashboard. If you just go to intothecryptoverse.com, you can see a video that shows you what's included. I'll put it in the chat. What's the highest ELO I've won against? Well, I actually was playing. I played on stream. Actually, if you go watch my chess stream, like 2 days ago, I played an international master, and I had 5 minutes on the clock, and he had 1 minute, but I beat him. But I had 5 times the amount of time. So like, if we had the same amount of time, he would completely destroy me, I'm sure. But he had 1 minute and I had 5 minutes, and I was able to win one of the 2 games we played. But he's much better than I am. I think I got lucky. I think he was rated like 2500. Who are my favorite chess players and why are they Levy, Russell, and Eric Rosen? Oh no, my queen. That's what Eric always says. Yeah, I play chess. Someone says they like my story about being recognized. Yeah, I was recognized for the first time in public. For the first time. Who do I follow in crypto? I mean, I don't really follow anyone here. When I'm spending so much time making my own stuff, it's hard to spend too much time following other people. I mean, I used to follow people, but not anymore. When I'm not doing this, I mainly just watch other channels that are not crypto related to get a break. How confident am I for crypto champs? I'll be happy if I make it to the top 5, I think. No, if you subscribe, it'll stay the same price. Who's playing in Crypto Champs? You guys want me to pull it up? It's tomorrow and Sunday. Let's see. So here it is. So it's tomorrow. So you have Anthony Pomp. I'm sure a lot of you guys know him. Pompiano. Me. Eva. Matt. Daryl. Meltem. Kevin. Kane. Vinny. Peter McCormick. Obviously, you guys probably know him. Ben Foreman. You guys can see the list here. It just goes on for a little while. So maybe you guys know some of them. Who do you guys recognize? I mean, obviously, there's some that you probably stand out a little bit. Like, you probably some of them you know more than others, but. Oh, it's time for another Cliff Dweller. I'm probably gonna go soon, actually. I mean, it's Friday night. Like, I'm not just gonna sit here and watch price of Bitcoin go down. Why do I block super chats? No one's got time for super chats. Yeah, I mean, I know Alexandra Cortez. She was the one that she dropped that she blundered the queen and they called it the Botez Gambit. Any new designs coming in the merch shop? I actually have a couple ideas. But they're not out yet. If you guys want to get a t-shirt, you just go to store.intothecryptoverse.com. I'll put it in the chat. We have some pretty cool shirts. This one is these are the what's a few trillion among friends. Those shipped today, actually. So if you ordered one already and you're wondering why it hasn't come yet, they were being made. I think they shipped today. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up there. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. And yeah, the coffee mugs are in the mail. If you ordered a mug, those were delayed forever because we had them ordered and then they came back and they misprinted them. So we had to get them remade. So if you did order a mug, they're in the mail now. So all the orders, I believe, have been shipped. So if you're wondering why it hasn't come yet, it's because they were still being made and then the mugs were misprinted. So if you ordered one of those, they were delayed even more. But they are coming out. They were, yeah. It should be sitting out now. All right, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Definitely subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up. Let's go for 500,000 subscribers, I guess. And I will. There's also the premium list. Remember, if you guys want to join. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.